My mother's family came from the hills of Kentucky, West Virginia, coal miners, and they were extremely musical. They had to provide their own entertainment.
I used to go listen to my father and practice with his band called the Band of Gold. He was a trombone player. I had a stool I used to sit in front of, and I would tap on the stool with the sticks while listening to the band. That's how I get started with music.
My dad was a bass player, so I was always around music. My dad and some of the people that my dad used to play with, he was an original member of the Sons of Pioneer.
My dad was a singer, guitar player, did country western music.
Musical family. Everybody on my mom's side played music, everybody on my dad's side didn't. So, you know, we were just expected to play.
Fourth or fifth grade, started playing trumpet in the elementary school band.
Well, first I got involved with music in sixth grade when I started playing trombone in a grade school band.
I grew up in a musical house. My father's from Wales. He sang a lot.
I just kind of took to it and went, on a music scholarship all through college, and got out and just played, taught.
I didn't realize that people couldn't play until I started teaching.
My influences has obviously been Phil. He's just a huge talent, huge natural talent, and his knowledge is just constantly amazes me.
You stop on the 15th measure, right? And then in the 16th measure, you do the pickup.
We were just white suburban kids listening to all kinds of music back in the 60s and 70s. At the time, there were no genres. You would hear an R&B record right behind a rock and roll record, behind a jazz record.
My mom had a bunch of cousins that were really kind of uncle age, but they came in and they brought in all these jazz records and blues records and everything in between. I had a lot of rockabilly and Elvis and everything in between, and also a fair share of Miles Davis and Dave Brubeck and stuff like that. When you're 7 years old listening to Dave Brubeck, that's kind of sets you apart from the rest of the kids. They're doing nursery rhymes and stuff like that.
As a result, we were exposed to everything, all the influences, and we decided, what we heard on the radio made us happy, and we played in orchestras and bands.
Some high school buddies and I got together, started in my garage and ended up in my attic.
I ended up in Atlanta at the Force-Com Band, some of the best musicians in the Army.
Didn't play for about 12 years, and I moved to Savannah, and there was a band that was doing some Dixieland, which I enjoyed playing, being a trombone player. And got with them and ended up playing with them for about 25 years.
I played in a lot of different bands up and down the coast, mostly soul bands, beach music bands, the Thames, the Drifters, the Shirelles, all of that That was the standard stuff. I think I even played a few gigs with the Swinging Medallions, you know, back during the day.
I consider myself a journeyman bass player. I'm not gonna wow you with anything I do, but at the same time, I hope that if you hear me play, watch me play, that you're okay with what I did.
A minor, E minor, A minor, E minor. Yeah, hell yeah. Best time's 3. I can slow it down.
Where are you saying that's time?
It's not easy to drive this big bus. Now, if it was, you know, 3-piece band, 5-piece band, they kind of come in agreement. There's no way to get 12 people, especially horn players and guitar players, to agree. And so he drives this bus, and we do, you know, we work on all kind of stuff. So the music just keeps getting better and better and better.
We get together, you know, once a week and read through new charts and figure out what works well for the band and which ones are keepers, and get to do things that, you know, a lot of other groups really couldn't do.
I think I grew as a musician being in this group.
I've always enjoyed playing with musicians that I had to work hard at keeping up with.
We have a good time all the time. That's our motto.
I've just always been a closet guitar player, you know, and played guitar in this band until, you know, I just got to the point where it was like, you don't need me, you know, these guys are way better guitar players than I am.
Blake Carlisle, who plays guitar, rhythm guitar, and John Banks, who's the lead guitar player. The two of them work together a lot. They practice a lot more together than any of the rest of us do, so the guitar sound is really excellent in this band.
I've been taking guitar lessons from him forever, you know, and because of these guys, I understand music now, and it's amazing. We play together enough, they play together enough, it's always tight, it sounds great, it's always a good time.
I love that song.
Phil's been playing years and years and years. He came down here, hot shot bass player from Detroit.
He showed up at my house one Sunday afternoon after probably a couple of beers.
He said, Phil, I've got this couple of guys, we're trying to start a band. Can you come help us? Because he knew I'd done this professionally. And I said, sure, I'll come over and help you. And when I went over there, they were all playing guitar, 4 guys playing guitar. And they were playing Margaritaville, and all 4 were playing the same D chord.
He just shook his head and said, you want me to show you how to do this?
The next thing you know, we're like doing this every week. We're coming back every week. And we're trying this, we're trying that song, trying these different songs. I know they know D. We can work out a lot of songs in D. So we moved on from that to adding a drummer, and that was Doug.
Some of these guys, like Phil and some of the other cats, are professionals their whole life, and then a lot of us thought we were okay until we got in this band and then realized how much further we had to go.
Along the way, 2 of the individuals left the band. So it was me, Blake, and Dougie. So I knew John Banks from having played in town for a while.
I was hanging out over at Phil's house one day and he says, hey, I want you to see something. So he brought me over here and they had a cassette that they'd made, you know, playing, and he says, hey, why don't you come over? And he invited me in and I came in, and been here ever since.
I had a good friend, Tim Love, who was a neighbor, who I heard him sing on his porch with his father.
Well, I went to a mostly black high school. That kind of steered me down the road of being a soul singer.
It was Brett Karn, Blake Carlisle, George Waters, Robbie, Jim Strassner. So as people left, other people came in. And so at this point, now we have the nucleus of a band. We've got a really good singer, we've got a really good drummer, got a really good guitar player, and a bass player who's willing to crack the whip.
And it was a 5-piece band, and then gradually people were coming in and out, and, you know, building it up. It got up to 13 people, and I think it was getting bigger than that. At one time we had a hiring freeze. We don't have any more room.
I go, well, you know, I know a sax player. I know a guy named James Moody. Well, let's bring him in, because shiny objects always work well in a band. We rehearsed every Tuesday. A friend of mine, Rod Van Otterloo, would come up. He was a trombone player. And he would come up here and bring a 6-pack of beer and sit it down, but would never bring his trombone.
They kept after me to come and play with them, and I didn't, and then finally one night I did. And been in it ever since, 20 years now.
So we bring in a trumpet, Tracy. So now we have a 3-piece horn section. But all of a sudden, that changes sort of our direction. And before you know it, we've added 2 more horns. We added Rich Wagner, trumpet, comes up from St. Simon's every Tuesday, has for the last 15 years.
They kept saying, come on up to Bullets on Tuesday, and that's all they called it, was Bullets. And I started doing that in 2000, right around there.
Then we add a lead trumpet player, Kirk Lee.
After coming out here to Savannah in the mid-'80s, I'd run into these guys a couple of times and subbed and played a couple of gigs with them, and there was an opportunity to kind of join full time about I guess 11 or 12 years ago. So been doing it ever since.
Then we added Larry Golden, saxophone player, also doubles on clarinet and flute.
I met Kirk Lee and a bunch of people from the Savannah Jazz Orchestra, and I started playing with them. That was 98, and one of the trumpet players in the band was playing with the Bullets, and he brought me over, and I've been here since 98.
Then we add a baritone saxophone player, Craig Saxton, who was our first baritone player. Craig left, and then we have added another baritone sax player back in the band that just happens to be a woman, that just happens to take the most crap. I just want to make sure she wasn't here. Gloria Sutter.
I think they were a little apprehensive about having a girl join the band. Luckily, I, cuss like a sailor on shore leave, so it pretty much works out.
I've been playing in bands for most of my life, and mostly rock and roll bands. And I've been doing sound for probably 30 or 40 years. And I did sound for the Bullets numerous times, loved the band. And once upon about 6 years ago, a mutual friend of ours I was talking to one day says, "You interested in playing in a band?" I said, "Well, yeah, why?" He says, "The Bullets are looking for a keyboard player. Just show up on Tuesday night for rehearsal." So I showed up on a Tuesday night, brought my keyboard, set it up, played that night. We had a great time. I left, showed back up again the next Tuesday night with the keyboard, and never left.
He's only been in the band 6 or 7 years. This was the drummer's business, place of business, and he had a accordion shop downstairs, and he built this side of the room for upstairs storage. And then when my wife kicked us out of our house, rightly so, we came up here and set up, and everybody has their own place. Nobody invades each other's space. It's a very interesting dynamic, to say the least.
This place here, we've been here for about 20 years. We just love it here. We just, it's like the soul of the band.
You can come here and let loose and have a good time and make music and enjoy fellowship with the fellow bandmates.
This is where we have our fun. This is, we pick these songs up. We don't write a lot of songs. We do a lot of covers, but we play songs that you don't hear a lot of bands play, because without a 5-piece horn section, you might not have ever heard another band play it.
Most of us have gotten to the point where we try really hard not to miss, just because it's a lot of fun.
Right. Where is old Flatulence?
Stinky? Mr. Flat?
Stinky.
Stinky Hoffman.
We all like each other. It's the kind of, and we're all friends, and we hang together, and it's just different from other bands that everybody's been in. I've been in bands before to where we just couldn't stand each other. We'd just meet when we got on stage and get it done, get paid, and get out of there.
This is where we get together now. But it's very diverse. We keep politics out of here. Out of Tuesday nights, not allowed up here.
This is like going to a gig, because everything's set. You don't have to lug a bunch of stuff around. It's all set, and most everybody shows up every Tuesday. There's no other band around here like that. And it would be, the magic is just the talent and just how everybody wants to do it.
And what you're seeing here is the nuts and bolts of putting it together and making it work. But when we play a gig, that's all behind us, and we're playing the job. It's 100%.
What you can expect from a Sapphire Bullets concert is a good time. It's always a good time. I play with a lot of different groups, from jazz, blues, rock, and out of all the groups I play with, the Sapphire Bullets is always a great time.
People are toe tapping at the concerts, at the dance parties. From the first time the first note is hit, they're on their feet until the end of the night.
It just makes your blood red, keeps you young at heart.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow. Thank you.